And there we go. I believe we are now live. And the fun thing to do is to wait 10 seconds and go to YouTube. And there it is. So let me turn. Yeah, I'm so good at this.
We have success. That's cool. Look, believe me, that's the number of problems we've had doing this the last.
Yeah, well, I just had to turn the volume down and everything. Okay, so hey, folks, I am live. For another video chat. Today is the 27th of March, 2020. I am broadcasting somewhere from Boulder, Colorado. Pardon me, Boulder County, Colorado. Also, excuse me, I do have a cough. I've had it for about a month and a half now. So I'm pretty sure it's not from COVID-19. It's just from allergies. Things bloom around here and then they don't, and then they start again, and it's misery for somebody like me who just happens to have an immune system that flips out all the time like that. So I'm obviously broadcasting you from under the light of a yellow sun today. For some reason, it's cloudy outside, and so that light's a little weird. And I think my light is seeing mostly the blue. Yeah, see, as soon as I do that. Oh, and I thought this blue was a good idea, but then the white balance makes me look yellow. Sorry. Hey, if you noticed my t-shirt, and you know what that is, the symbol for Earth in the middle of a Stargate, that is in honor of my guest, whom I will bring in now.
Woohoo!
David Hewlett. Hello, David.
I don't look yellow. I just look like I've been in a basement for too long.
Yeah, I suppose I should be happy that I have some color to my face. Otherwise, white balance on my forehead. Look at that. Look at this. What is? Oh, now I'm red. This is very exciting.
You could do a whole thing on on a color theory.
I could actually. It's accidental special effects here in my house. So folks watching, and if you're watching on YouTube, welcome. That is going on. If you're watching on Twitter, I should probably say something like we're live now. This is the best thing about doing stuff live. We're live now. And then
you're streaming to YouTube, and you're streaming to Twitter as well.
I can't stream to Twitter. I could stream.
I didn't know they had that.
Yeah, I could stream to Periscope.
Right. I never used Periscope.
I've used it a few times. It's actually, now see, I've got YouTube open. I got to go back to StreamYard. So I'm using StreamYard, which you can see over Dave's left shoulder. Yeah, everything's so messed up. There you go. It's a pretty decent service to allow guests to come in and stream right to YouTube. So that's pretty cool. And
you have to pay for it?
Right now I'm using the free version. I've got a trial for a week, and then probably going to use everything up, and then all my time up, and then this weekend I will start to pay for it. It's a relatively minor amount of money.
I've been using Zoom, and I did end up paying for it, but it's I think it's a little different system though. It's less about being, I think, broadcasting as much as it is about the meeting itself. It seems more.
Yeah. Yeah, and with StreamYard, you can bring in up to 6 people, I think, on free.
Right.
On Zoom, it's like 1 billion.
I got 10 kids, so I'm already paying.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and Zoom is like $50 a month, and StreamYard's $25. And StreamYard does pretty much everything I need.
Right.
Oh my God, you've logged in as Canardian. That's amazing.
Sorry.
So for those of you who don't know Mr. Hewlett, he is an actor, I would say, first and foremost, in most people's minds. And I got to say, of course, I know you. Go ahead.
That's what pays the bills.
Yeah, and I know you're from Stargate Atlantis, so I'm sure they get you, $4 or $5 in residuals every quarter.
Yeah, I think we're down to like a quarter.
Yeah.
But
I was looking at the list of stuff you've done, and some stuff I knew, other stuff, and I kind of knew a while ago, and it slipped my mind. Cube.
Yes. Oh, that's going back a ways.
Yeah. I went to your IMDb page and I put that up on my newsletter site. You can go there and there's a link there under actor, and you'll see that. Cube, a fan favorite, a cult movie. I watched it. It was interesting.
Did you see it? So you've seen it recently?
It was a couple of years ago. It was when you and I first started talking on Twitter.
Because that's an old film now. Like, I'm amazed. Yeah. I'm curious to how it holds up.
It was interesting. I got to say, I wasn't sure what it was going to be, but for a movie in a bottle, these people wake up in a room and they have to figure out how to get out.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. I mean, it's sort
Shot
of
on
minimal.
a box and a half. It's a box and a half. We shot on a box and a half.
It's minimal effects, minimal, all that kind of stuff. And you have to really focus on the dialogue, the action, the actors, what's going on. And so it was really cool. I liked it.
Some math.
Yes. Yeah, there was a lot of math involved.
Yeah.
And
is it correct? Did anything stand out to you as particularly?
Oh gosh, I don't remember. Something about prime numbers. I don't want to spoil
a lot
anything.
of prime numbers. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But I remember like watching it going, yeah, this is cool. I like the math that's going on in it, the geometry and all that stuff. It was pretty slick.
I think the guy who did the math, I think he graduated using like this math, this cube theory thing.
Really?
Yeah, there was some kind of a school project involved in it as well, or came out of it.
Oh my God! Well, you're probably familiar with Futurama.
Oh yes, yeah.
There's an episode where they transfer personalities into different bodies,
right?
And the
Harlem
Globetrotters, which are called the Harlem Globetrotters in the show, but I can't remember. But they have to wind up figuring out how to get people back because you can't just switch people back, and they wind up using a mathematical theorem that was later published to show how to pair things like this. It's under group theory, I guess.
Yeah,
permutations more likely. So that was pretty cool.
The honor of getting Futurama in your PhD, whatever.
Yeah. Oh, hey, I would absolutely put that down under my bibliography.
I was very jealous. I remember that I found out that there was a course in Keanu Reeves movies. This is way back when, like just after The Matrix, I guess.
I guess it'd be interesting to do something like that now.
Yeah,
like everybody raves about the John Wick movies, and the first one is great, and the sequels.
I like the second sequel. I gotta say, the third one I felt they were really stretching it a bit. Baz and I love it. Like Baz, who shouldn't be watching these things. Baz, who's down here playing video games right now. So if you hear the clicking, that's my son. That's my son doing some great at-home education.
Well, we're going to get to that in a minute because I want to also just list a few other things. You were in Dark Matter, which I quite liked.
Yeah.
With Stargate Atlantis alumna Tori Higginson.
Yes. Although we never got to work together. Again, I think we were basically on screens a lot. That's
really funny. She played Dr. Weir on Stargate Atlantis, who was the commander of the station. And she is a lovely, lovely person.
Oh, she's fantastic.
You were on Suits.
Yes. Well, I did one episode of Suits.
One episode with my pal Amanda Scholl.
Yeah.
And
No Prince Married Me.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
But Amanda was on 12 Monkeys, the series, which is excellent. You all should watch that.
Yeah.
Assassinate, I have to mention, with your sister Kate. Just a couple of episodes, I know. It's on YouTube, folks. If you haven't seen it, go watch it.
Yeah. That was a real spur of the moment thing. It just was like, hey, Kate. It was fun. A lot of fun.
I've don't tell her, but I've had a crush on her since the first time she appeared on Stargate Atlantis.
I won't tell her.
Little crush.
I don't like to tell her anything that might increase the already Hewlett egos.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, and you should. She plays his sister on Stargate Atlantis.
She does a good job of it.
Yeah, and you can tell. Yeah. I remember watching it going, these two people know each other, and then I looked it up and it was like, I see.
The best note we got was Martin Wood took us aside at one point. It was the director of one of the episodes. And he said, guys, just remember, you're related. And I was like, what? he's like, well, just wouldn't you be nicer to each other? I was like, no, we're related. Why would we be nice to each other? You know what I mean? Siblings aren't nice to each other. Certainly not us. I mean, none of us are.
That's great. And the relationship just leaps off the screen. McKay and Mrs. Miller and The Shrine, which is easily in the top 5 episodes of Stargate Atlantis, if not.
That's lovely. Yeah, absolutely lovely. And Kate was amazing. I mean, Kate, like, it's just, she's like one of the funniest women I've ever met. Drives me crazy, but she's
very funny.
Yeah, she's just got a way of turning stuff around, generally on me. But it was absolutely lovely. Yeah, I'm really glad that worked out because they were looking at casting that. I was like, what? So like one of the reasons we made Dog's Breakfast was to sort of showcase Kate to the Stargate people because I was like, it's like She's right here. So
this would be your independent production, A Dog's Breakfast, that you made a couple of years ago with Kate and Paul McGillion, Polly, who
Chris
is also
Judge.
a lovely, lovely person.
Yeah. Oh God, I mean, the Stargate bunch was ridiculously lovely people to both work with and hang out with, and just generally get to know.
I love hearing that, and we'll get back to that in a sec. But it seems that I have to mention a pivotal role that you had, which is appropriate for these days.
Yeah, I've seen it floating around a bit recently.
Which would be Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, sorry everybody.
Yeah, where David plays an irritating airline pilot, I believe it was.
Well, misunderstood. I think he was misunderstood.
you play a lot of misunderstood characters.
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
Who winds up infecting the planet and killing most of the humans and letting the apes become apes. And I see already in the comments somebody saying, "Stop touching your face so much."
I know, I'm terrible.
And I'm scratching because
I'm in private chat. That's why I'm not. I always do this. Oh my gosh, there's all sorts. I was thinking, boy, it's really quiet. Nope. Turns out I'm in private chat. There you go.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. I've been in self quarantine now for like I'm on, what did I figured it out today, week 618 of working from home. So I don't go out. I don't see anybody. This is actually it. This is where I live. Where's my other hand?
That's it. That's it.
And so you do a lot of other stuff, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I just want to talk a little bit about Atlantis just for a moment.
Yeah.
I don't want to ask you what's your favorite episode because I know it's going to be an episode you're in. But
I think I was in every. I don't think there was an SGA episode that I wasn't in.
You know what? I think you're right. I saw that. I was reading up on Atlantis for some reason the other day. I was just thinking.
I'm surprised.
And it said the only actor that's been in every episode was you.
Well, let's face it. I mean, Atlantis would have sunk.
Well, I mean, Zelenka pulled his weight.
I tried.
McKay never, once or twice, gave him a little pat on the back.
Leadership.
If this is too insider baseball for you all watching this, I don't know. I haven't seen any comments yet saying, talk about other stuff.
What are you talking about? Yeah.
So in Atlantis, what I want to ask, I guess, what was the most fun that you had making that show, as opposed to like what's your favorite episode, or what's the worst injury you suffered?
Man, I guess that's so funny. I think it was just hanging out with just having all of those personalities on set at the same time was just amazing. And then every week we'd have different sort of guest stars come in, and that always added a crazy, fun new dynamic. Whether we got along or not, it almost didn't matter. It was just this constant, the great thing about Atlantis, and I guess this is probably the same thing for most Stargate, for most science fiction shows, is that you just never know what's going to happen next. So every week was a complete, you get the script, you're like, what's going to happen this week? And I think I was very lucky because, the writers, I don't think this is any secret, but the writers are kind of geeks too. So they really enjoy, I felt like they presented their geekness through McKay. So McKay really got to play in a way that I think a lot of the other actors had to be heroes and stuff. I got to be a true geek. I got to truly embrace my geek, and it just, so for me, it was all that character stuff, all that character back and forth stuff. It was, goofing around on set with Flanagan and Momoa and poor long suffering Rachel, who is just the most beautiful, talented. She would, we'd discuss writing and life and having Tori there. It was amazing fun.
Is there any episode that sticks out?
Well, it's funny. So the question I get a lot is so what's your favorite episode? And I feel like there's almost like different episodes for depending on what part you're looking at. Like there's some of them that were from a technology standpoint, it was so cool to do the episode where you got two Rodneys because you're doing this computer controlled cameras. So me being a total nerd myself, I spent what time I had not trying to figure out who I was in that scene, was spent geeking out with the camera people, because I was just like, how does this work? What's going on? And the basic idea, just for anyone who doesn't know this, is if you're going to put the same person in a scene twice, the camera has to do exactly the same thing twice, over and over again. Basically, every camera move's got to be exactly the same, so that you can place the new person in when you put the two layers together. And they never used to have these things, but now, because they can so precisely control a camera, you've got this amazing. Basically, it's just a giant robot with a camera attached to it, running through the motion every time. So someone comes in, presses play, and this whole dolly system goes and does what it's being programmed to do. So you got to sort of play with this sort of leading edge camera technology. So that was fun. The visual effects stuff is always fun for me. I always caught my fancy.
I read that technology was invented for Star Wars.
Yeah.
To do the trench scene. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Motion control. The whole idea of like motion control camera was way back. I mean, that's the funny thing is like and now people can do it. I mean, you can do it yourself with an Arduino and an SLR camera. That's what's so amazing about it. The technology is just being democratized in a way that, I mean, those systems used to be, I mean, they've got to be hundreds of thousands of dollars. There were like 2 of them in Toronto, and if one of them was, if they were booked, you just forget it. You weren't going to do any computer controlled stuff now. But now I'm sure you could probably jerry rig something with a couple of DIYs from Instructables or something. But so you've got those episodes, which are great from a cool sci-fi technology standpoint. And then you've got episodes like Grace Under Pressure, where it's just you and Amanda, in a sinking puddle jumper in a giant wave lab in University of BC, and you're just like, this is so cool.
That's Amanda Tapping, who played Captain, Major, and eventually Colonel Samantha Carter.
Yeah.
Stargate Atlantis.
So just, I mean, and who is, let's face it, I mean, she's just like, that woman is, I don't know how she does it. She's just the most lovely woman. I mean, she just lights up a room. There were so many of those people on set, actually. It's not just Amanda. It's like, Chris Judge is the same way. And Momoa.
Jason Momoa. Whatever happened to that guy after Atlantis? He disappeared.
Yeah, really sad. Yeah. I mean, they should really start like some kind of a GoFund him. But yeah, so it's episodes, like Grace Under Pressure, where you get to work with an actor who you just adore, and in a really cool environment like that. Like, how often do you get to go and play in a wave tank? And the idea was this thing was designed to create waves so they could study, oceanography stuff, whatever it is they're doing, far beyond me, I'm sure. But and I get to swim around it. I'm just like, hey, what's this? Like swimming around these giant wave things. And then you have other episodes like The Shrine, like you bring up, where you just get to do acting. If you're acting like that in any other show, you're dead. Like, you're done. You don't come back again. That's like your final words before you die. Only in sci-fi can you have like that beautiful ER-like episode where you could sort of, goodbye, everybody, and have a fantastic dramatic sort of death and connection episode, and then the next episode you're back as if nothing's happened. So it's only in sci-fi does that happen.
Well, I gotta say, in Stargate, in SG-1, Atlantis, and in Universe too, no tech was ever forgotten. It was one of those things where in Star Trek over the years, they'll invent this magic tech, and then 5 episodes later, they're in some situation, and I'm thinking, if you had that discombobulator, you'd be fine.
Yeah.
But in Atlantis, it was always, or in SG-1, it was always like, what we need? We need that mind control device from 5 seasons ago.
Right.
And they go to Area 51 or whatever, and there it is. And
they say, oh, if only we had that, we can't get it.
Yeah, that's right. And then you can at least mention it.
They're very good at that. One of the first things that happened on SG-1 was the first time I did the episode, I made the mistake of saying, like, is there like a Bible or something? Is there something I could get that would just give me a basic understanding of, some of the terms and things, what this NACWA does, generators and ZPMs and all. And so they said, yeah, sure, we'll send it over. And this driver shows up with like this much paper, and they printed out the glossary from gateworld.net, this amazing like fan site, and they had compiled, obviously the fans, these Gateworld folks had compiled this thing, and that was what the writers themselves were using to keep track of some of the stuff they were doing. So it's just incredible stuff. It's no surprise to me to see so much sort of fan fiction and fan sort of fans delving into the lore of this stuff, because there's just such a rich sort of library of information out there about it.
Yeah, and I can use a little bit of technology now and see if this works.
Oh, here we go.
This is the wiki for Stargate, stargate.fandom.com, and you can go and look all this stuff up. I mean, look at this. This is on Atlantis, and mind you, this is just sort of a gross overview, really brief, and then there are tremendous links in here. Let's see here.
Does that link off gateworld.net?
Gateworld.net's a different site.
All right, because that was the one. The gateworld.net was the one that I originally used.
Right. That's been around a long time.
Yeah.
This one, I want to say this is run by sgcommand.fandom.com. I don't know, but there you go. So
amazing amount of stuff out there. It's incredible.
There we go.
It's almost not hey, Baz, you're the corner now.
Oh, wait a minute. There he is. Hey, Baz.
There you go. Wait.
Baz, of course, short for Bastille.
Yes, well, sort of. Yeah. He was. It's that one of those weird ones where we just couldn't decide on a name. So he's Sebastian, but we always liked Baz, so we went with Baz. I really wanted him to be Basil, but apparently Basil Fawlty wasn't gonna work for. My wife was like not over her dead body.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, she's British, right?
Yeah. She's also very hard to kill. So yeah, it's
And Fawlty Towers was a favorite of mine. Once I'd watched all of Monty Python back when I was a kid. I started watching Fawlty Towers with John Cleese, and one of the things
I realized from watching that was that it wasn't execution. It wasn't how perfectly things were done. It was just the idea of what you were trying to do that could be so funny. Like if you watch that show now, you must have, if you see them recently, they missed their hits. They missed their things are like waiting to happen, but you're just so enjoying what they're trying to show you, if that makes sense. It's brilliant. I think he's absolutely brilliant. I follow John Cleese on Twitter, and he always just comes up with the most. I mean, he doesn't sound like the most, shall we say, friendly man in the world, but my gosh, his insights are just these cuttingly brilliant, takes on. He had something on. He was talking about, someone was arguing about gun control, and he said. And it was something about there being, that a vast majority of gun deaths are suicides. He said was what he'd been told by one of his followers. And he said, "Oh yes, another good reason for having them at hand, so that if you're feeling down, you can take action immediately."
Right.
So it's just he's just got this great sort of turn of phrase and odd way of looking at things. So
there's an episode they did, and I don't remember the name of it, but they had an American family over in the hotel. John Cleese is Basil Fawlty. He runs this terrible hotel. He's a terrible manager, but things get so bad that I wish I could remember exactly what happens, but they film a scene outside where his car doesn't work. He's losing his mind. It's maybe 2 different episodes, and I just want to say it's a masterclass in physical comedy.
It's brilliant.
This is the guy who did Silly Walks, right? So of course. But I don't know how well Fawlty Towers would stand up these days.
Yeah, I don't know. It's also probably quite inappropriate now, because a lot of this stuff. It's amazing. Because Baz and I have been sort of like plowing through a lot of the older stuff, as he calls it, old movies from like the 80s and 90s. And it is amazing how sort of woke we are now. Like how much more we are so much more sensitive to this stuff than we were before. I mean, understandably, obviously, but where I just find Baz just goes like, "You thought that was funny?" I was like, "It was back then."
Yeah, the 80s were a nightmare. My daughter is a big Mystery Science Theater fan.
Oh yeah.
So she's seen all these old movies.
How old is your daughter?
She's 23 now.
Oh wow! I was going to say, because that's quite. I was going to say, at his age, I don't think he'd be watching Mystery Science Theater.
Well, how old was she when she started watching it?
They got my money on Kickstarter, by the way. I helped on that.
Oh yeah,
I was all for that.
Yeah, so she wanted to see some of the movies that I grew up with, that my wife and I grew up with. So we watched a bunch of 80s movies, and a lot of them hold up pretty well. I got to say, Better Off Dead with John Cusack, very funny.
Yeah.
But Revenge of the Nerds, not so
Not
much.
so much. Yeah.
And I was thinking, yeah, that was a really supportive movie for nerds, and then I watched it again. It's like, oh, this is super rapey. Oh,
it made me who I am. Oh, what?
Yeah, there's a scene in there where it's just that's sexual assault at the minimum, and at the maximum, yikes. So
just how I was saying to Baz that the humor in the 80s and 90s for growing up was all about pervy little boys, looking through windows while girls changed and stuff. We watched another classic, Explore. Have you seen Explorers? Joe Dante's Explorers?
Long time ago.
So that holds up really well. I got to say, I really enjoyed that. There was definitely some parts where they're like, we can fly a spaceship. So where should we go? I know. We'll go to my neighbor's bedroom window and spy on her from a new alien craft. But for the most part, for the most part, it held up pretty well. It was because that was one of those films that got me into some tinkering, and my love of science fiction and stuff was like, I was like, they built a spaceship. That was like, I was like, straight away, I was outside, tapping things together badly with knives, with nails and screws and stuff. So,
well, that's a pretty good segue. Excellent work as an actor.
I've segued by accident.
Yes, right into. I mean, if you folks can see his. Let's see. How do I do this? How do I make you bigger?
Like I need to be bigger. Can you make me smaller? Can you make me thinner? That would be great.
I can make me like this, and then I can share both of us. But you have a lot of techie, nerdy stuff in the background there. I can see. From Stargate Universe, I can see some, piping or whatever. From
it in for you. It's got a light in it.
Oh,
I'll plug it in for you. Hang on.
Okay. Yeah, if you watch Stargate Universe on Destiny, the giant ship that the crew is stuck on, and David's in one of the episodes, they have all of this beautiful tech everywhere.
I should have lit it up for you before.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's like it's a wall sconce from SGU. And one of my biggest frustrations about film and television is that it's kind of like, in a way to sort of protect ideas and to stop people from stealing things and reusing them and stuff. They for the most part, they shred this stuff after. So as soon as the show goes down, I mean, like with Atlantis, you're walking around, they were like lifting, things were disappearing as you're shooting, including your chair backs and things. And a lot of them just get trashed. So when SGU was going down, I had two evil plans. The first one didn't work out, but I think it would have been genius, which was they were taking the thing apart and they were taking bids on people to come in and trash the set. So I wanted to bid on it, even though I'd never done anything like that in my life. I thought, I'll bid on it and I'll just save everything. And the money that they give me to take it apart, I'll use to store all this stuff, or we'll shoot a film on it or something. And we ended up only being able to save one little, I guess it was a jumper. It was a, what's it called? What did they call them on? What was it called?
The puddle jumper.
Yes, it wasn't a puddle jumper from Atlantis. It was one of their puddle jumpers, I guess. It was like one of their shuttle sets. But even then, we used that in a film, and then that got trashed before, like literally, like overnight. I come back in, everything's gone. I'm like, "Where's the set?" They're like, "Yeah, we got rid of it. We got a great deal." I was like, "What? A great deal on them destroying it?" So it's just this weird,
heartbreaking.
Oh God, it's awful. And also, I think people are only now becoming aware that that this sort of it's like the companies are suddenly beginning to realize, hey, we can make money off how much people like these shows.
A lot of money.
Yeah, So
I
can't sell it because it's just too much fun to have it around. I got a chair too.
Oh yeah. In fact, I'm looking over at my knickknack corner of my office, and at one point maybe I'll do a live chat where I just show people the junk I've picked up over the years. But I've got a couple of things from sets. Yeah, just happen to know some folks there, and it's I think about it. There's a couple of scenes in SG1 where they show an armory, and it's like those are real. That's like 50 staff weapons, 50 Zat guns. And wow, they made these, and you could sell those for,
amazing.
10 grand each.
The Zat guns actually sort of unfolded.
Yeah, they were like a staple gun, and it would come up like a snake.
I was jealous of a lot of the SG-1 stuff because by the time we got to Atlantis, they'd moved a lot to the LEDs. It was all about the blinky lights.
Yeah.
So they tended to be less mechanical and more sort of like, or they were visual effects as well. So I still maintain that I prefer the SG-1 gate is my favorite gate because it's got active movement. It's got big chunky things holding it and smoke coming out of it. And I'm actually working on one now that I'm hoping will be able to that I'll be able to animate myself or to get moving myself. So there's some great plans online for this one. Who is it who did it? It was
check that out.
Glitch UK, I think is the guy. But so you print all these parts, and then these will slide, and you've got all sorts of like more detailed pieces.
Oh, look at that! That's so cool.
One of the other things I have, right? I can't do it. There they go, right there. That's the 3D printer. And that is like, talk about Stargate technology. I mean, this stuff is, you can make something out of nothing. It's just like, it's brilliant.
Well, this is what I was saying. You're a geek's geek. You're not just a science fiction actor. Of course, you've done other things besides science fiction.
It's mainly science fiction, though.
Yeah. Oh, and The Color of Water. I should mention that as well. Or,
Shape of Water. Shape of Water. Yeah.
Shape of Water.
Oh, you're talking about cool set things. So I have when we did that at the end of that movie, we got a little sort of crew thank you, and it's this beautiful little notebook, like that Guillermo signed a thank you in, which I'm going to keep, and that and an egg timer as well, which I thought was kind of cute. I don't know what he's saying we should do with our off time, but yeah.
That's amazing. But you're a tinkerer. You love technology, and you do all this kind of stuff, and you've actually developed websites where people can do things, and I've got the links actually again on
techbandits.com is basically the most recent stuff now, I think.
Right.
That's
and I've got a link to that under Tech Terrors because you changed the name recently.
Well, that was it. So they were called. That was actually kind of cute because I started so the idea was that my son wanted to play PC games. As you can tell, he's quite into it. I also love him as well, to be fair. So I thought, so he said he wanted to do this. He wanted to get a PC. And I said, look, if you want to play PC games, you have to build a PC because that's how the cool kids do it in my book. So so we sort of started grabbing, the components that we could afford at the time and stuff and compiling this, this system to put together. And then we started building it, and like kids would show up at the house going like, your son's a liar. And I'd be like, oh God, what's he done now? He says he's building a gaming PC. And I was like, yeah, we're doing that now. And, and Baz is not as interested in the tinkering stuff as I am. We'll see. Maybe I'll get into it later. But so there's a lot of like, is it done yet? Okay. But I love it. Like I revel in this stuff. So we built this thing, but I was concerned that kids had this kind of black box mentality about all the technology they were using, about their phones, about their gaming consoles and stuff. So I just started bringing stuff that they use into school and let them take it apart. So like if I have old cell phones, I'd let them take old cell phones apart, which they were like that. They blew their minds. Like they didn't even know you could take them apart, let alone actually look at the separate things that are inside it and things. So we did that. We did laptops. We did desktop computers. And then, of course, the education trick is that once they've taken them all apart, they want to build them. So then we started building, a gaming PC. We're very lucky. PC Perspectives, a couple of friends from there, Josh out there, who was doing reviews of all these different tech things, sent us a bunch of parts, and then I bought a bunch of parts, and we had the kids build a PC. So it started with just a PC club, but then because I was I wanted to do this project that I called Upgrade Required, which is all about the idea of man and machine meeting and disabilities becoming obsolete through technology and stuff, or at least the concept of disabilities becoming obsolete through technology. And I would discuss this, the kids would ask what I was doing, and I would talk about that. And then I discovered that assistive technology was something that really like spoke to the kids. Like there was like, it's one thing to say, oh, we made the LED go from red to blue, big freaking deal. But if you go like, it's going from red to blue when the kids press the button, and those kids have learning disabilities that, that this is important for them. This is useful things for them to learn, or, we played with robotic arms, and one of our kids had a partially formed arm that she was embarrassed about, that she told she didn't like to talk about, and she was a very good soccer player because she could be judged only on her footwork as opposed to having to use her hands. All of a sudden, she just came to she just lit up. I mean, all of a sudden, she'd bring in this prosthetic arm from her locker and plunk it down and say, "Can we take that apart?" And I'd be like, "No, you can't. You can't do that. Let's play with this robotic arm."
Yeah, disposable things only.
That's it. So, just that's persistent. So I've been doing that for a number of years now, and then this year it's sort of beginning to sort of kick more into higher gear as more people sort of learn about it. And I partnered up with a school, amazing school here that does. That works with kids with developmental physical disabilities. So it's a wide range of different things that they're up against. And what I really wanted to do was get my privileged little kids to work with these kids and see what sort of projects could sort of like bridge the gap between them. They've got an amazing thing that they're working on there where they've got it's basically an apartment set, just like a movie. It's like a big room, and they've put a bed in it, and they've got a TV, and they've got a little kitchen. And the idea is they want to finish this thing up so that the kids can use it to sort of start learning the skills they'll need going forward in the world, right? And a lot of them, they need to learn this stuff, but they also wanted it to be fun. So they wanted to add some cameras and a little bit of technology, maybe some interactive LEDs and stuff. And so the idea was to work with the kids on that. And then, of course, we had a teacher strike. We had everything this year. We had a teacher strike. So I started having the kids at my house because we couldn't do it at the school. And then, of course, with COVID, we've gone all online. But even that's been a really kind of fun venture because it's just different ways of interacting with the kids. So I do things like the other day I hot glued a web camera to the top of a microscope. And we just looked at slides under the microscope. It took me a long time to get that thing back off again, but it's just that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I've done that too. Trying to hold up a camera to an eyepiece of a telescope is a nightmare.
Oh yeah, it's exactly. Of course, it's exactly the same thing. So do you have
you think we'll just put it up there, and it's like, well, first of all, where is the camera on this thing? It's in the upper right, and so that I want it to be centered. Yeah. And so it's like I got to figure that out. And then there's this, there's 3 dimensions of movement, plus there's rotation, tilt, and pitch yaw, and all of those are important. And so I have a device.
It's even harder with that because you're actually moving the telescope, whereas the microscope I can at least keep it fairly still.
That's true. Yeah, if you bump into the telescope, you've lost your thing, and
that's it.
I've got Celestron makes a Nex YZ. It's this neat little thing where you can put your cell phone into it, and it clamps onto a telescope, and it's got 2 knobs that move it this way, and it holds the camera perpendicular, flat to the eyepiece, and it's pretty cool. I got to say, it helps a lot. But so that sort of technology is really helpful. And because I've done live stuff like on Periscope, where I've done that, where I've got it clamped
Periscope with the telescope,
show things. And it's pretty wild. So when I see you on TV shows and everything, I'm like, hey, look, it's Dave. It's so cool. And so as an actor, I love it when I get to see you acting. But I know about this work that you do with kids and how much you love it and how passionate you are about it. And I think that's my favorite thing about you. Your excitement. I mean, you just get so, well, you're like the rest of us, you're a geek. And so
you can't though. I don't understand how you, everybody geeks out about something. That's my thing. I have my theory that everyone's McKay to some extent. There's a McKay in everybody, a certain amount. And they were it's like a spectrum. And if you have too much McKay, no one likes you. But you're always right. And then there's the same thing with this geek thing where I just feel if you want to connect with someone, you just find something that they love. And if someone loves something enough, it's infectious. It's a contagious curiosity that happens. And I've always been a terrible student terrible student. I flunked out of school. I hated education, but I've always loved learning. And that's a weird thing that it's taken until very recently for me to discover, like literally in the last like 10 years, to discover that what I was doing was not just me being interested in something. It's actually educating myself. Like you know what I mean? Like it's
sure.
I work with this charity called Let's Talk Science up here. Nationwide charity run by this amazing woman called Bonnie Schmidt. And she, it's all about inspiring science, technology, engineering, and math in kids. Has created all these programs, but not me just like throwing things to see what sticks. Like she's done the data, she's got data to back up why these are important. These are the skills you'll learn. And they've created a very data-driven approach to all this learning. And she was the one who sort of pointed that out to me, where she said, like, because I said, like, I just play smart on TV. And she said, yeah, but she goes, like, it's just so fun to watch you get excited about stuff. And I'd sort of forgotten, I guess, you know, I mean, I have to live with myself all the time, and no one in this house finds it exciting. But it does, once you get outside, I think people, especially kids, when kids see adults excited about the stuff that they're talking about, it's a different world. I mean, it's not, as soon as you start teaching them something, it's almost like they sense it. But if you're just truly, like, they know more than I do in most cases. So it's just about sort of trying to make that, as I say, make that curiosity contagious. It's my little catchphrase, you know. Although contagious, not a good term to be thrown around right now.
Yeah, there's that.
Well, what's funny is we've been doing this for so long that I used to call them tech terrors. And of course, then the terrors became the whole terrorist thing. So we tried to change it to bandits, but the kids still like me calling them terrors because frankly, they are. So, you know, little terrors. Yeah.
Well, we got about roughly 15 minutes left. I wanted to ask you, what do you know, how is COVID-19 treating you and yours? How are you doing self-isolating and all of that stuff?
This is the weird thing, is that I feel like for geeks like us,
basement dwellers, yeah.
Yeah, I think I think this is our time to shine in a way, because I feel like we're good at this stuff. Like we're good, you know, this whole idea of conversing with people online is not unnatural to us. In fact, it's probably more natural in many cases than it is actually having to go out and meet people. I feel like it's been even more, strangely, I've had more interactions. Like, it's taken us how long? We're finally talking to each other. Like,
we never met in real life.
That's it. I mean,
I saw you were following me on Twitter years ago, and I was like, what?
Space, buddy, I gotta know some space stuff. You were the man.
Well, thank you. A lot of actors are deeply into science and science fiction. I was thinking about this when you were talking earlier that Stargate was being run by geeks. Yeah. And that, you know, back in the day when I was a kid and you were watching Star Trek and Twilight Zone and the original Outer Limits on TV, science fiction.
Right, involved in many of those, I might add.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, Outer Limits, I think, as well.
The original.
Well, no, not the original, but
okay.
When there was a relaunch, I think in the 80s or 90s. Or
yeah. Okay, I was going to say that can't be right. The original was out in the 60s. I remember I was very little watching that.
Oh, you're talking the original, like black and white one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. But a lot of the people, so a lot of people involved with that. Rod Serling was into that genre, and some of the writers were, but not everybody was. For them and for the actors, it was just a gig. And Shatner's talked about that. He's like, this was just a gig I had.
Right.
Now, though, you see a generation that was raised on those TV shows, and they are interested in the science and the science fiction. So you have people like you have people like Will Wheaton, who was a Star Trek fan first. Yeah. And then got on the show, and you see that a lot. And when I go to science fiction conventions, and bless them, they have me on as a guest, as a science guest, so I get to hang out with actors and writers and such. And they find out you're a scientist or you do science or whatever, and they love it. And so I get to feel like I don't get to feel like I'm a fly on the wall. I get to feel like I'm part of the gang. And
well, you are. I mean, that's the whole thing. There was a great. I was just talking to this guy at OpenBCI. So this brilliant computer interface guy, amazing guy, Connor, and he said that science fiction is the first stage of engineering. It's the dreaming stage.
Sure.
I thought that was a great way of putting it. So, and going back to your talking about sort of growing up on science fiction. I mean, the reason why I'm an actor and a nerd is because of Doctor Who. And because TVO here, which is a public television thing, why I'm a big fan of public television, especially TVO, which is TV Ontario here, is that they broadcast Doctor Who, and they had a mandate to teach, to be educational as well. So they had an educational component. They would do, before all these other official after shows, they would do Doctor Who, and then the Undoctor would come on, or a science fiction writer would come on, whose name I can never remember, but who was instrumental for me. And so it was science and science fiction were inextricably bound for me. I didn't see the difference. Like, the whole point of Doctor Who was to show me that's a sonic screwdriver. Well, I need to go and build one of those. And I think that's, again, the phasers, the time and relative dimensions in space, the TARDIS, like all of these things were just things we had to build. They were just things that hadn't been invented yet. And I don't think I've ever lost that. And I think that's the beauty of science fiction. And especially now with cosplay and stuff, where people are going like, I want to be that. I want wings. I got to build them. You know what I mean? Like, we couldn't do that. There was no tech back then to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, when I was a kid, you'd go and buy a rubber mask someplace or wear a funny hat, and that's
it. Yeah, lots of cardboard,
robots, and and I just love that. And you've got scientists now who are begging to be involved in these science fiction shows. I've done some consulting. I want to do more. A friend of mine is consulting for Star Trek. Other friends of mine have consulted for movies and other TV shows. Scientists. We all want to be a part of that, and
you gotta write some science fiction, right? Like that. Do pull a Martian. The Martian, the whole idea of like basing it on the science. I thought that was such an inspiration to me, because there's a nerd writing a story that wasn't so much a story as it was working out what it would be like to live on Mars.
Yeah, I mean, Andy Weir.
You must love that stuff. Like, do you do any nonfiction? I mean, do you do any fiction writing?
I've done some really, really like microfiction short stories, like 1 or 2 pages. I put a couple of them up on my newsletter. I'm just fooling around. You get an idea, and I like it because it is. I like writing sort of I guess it's called nanofiction, or nanofiction would be like what you put on Twitter. But I like this sort of the one pagers because you can only cover one concept, and you kind of walk into a scene as it's already happening.
Right.
And so you have to establish it really carefully and quickly, get to your point, and then move on. And so I've done a few of these, and it's fun. It's like writing a blog post, right? Yeah. I get 1,000 words or whatever, or less.
Except you get to make stuff up.
Yeah. And I'm going to make it.
I got to read some of these. So they're available on the site if I go look at the archives? Is that the...
yeah, if you go to my newsletter, which is badastronomy.substack.com.
Right, that's what I'm subscribed to, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's an archive.
Which everyone should subscribe to, by the way. You can't call yourself a geek if you're not subscribed to
the Bad Astronomy. Thank you. Look, listen to Rodney, because if you don't, you'll die.
That's it. Rodney's always right. Yes.
Do you get Monday and Thursday, or just Monday?
I think I must just get Monday, because I didn't realize it was coming twice a week.
Yeah, I do it twice a week.
I gotta get Monday or Thursday. I get so much stuff. It's kind of terrifying now.
Yeah, I'm flooded with news.
So maybe it's Thursday, because I keep thinking it always seems to come. It comes into focus for me usually at the end of the week. So maybe it is a Thursday one.
Okay, because that's for the paid subscribers.
Oh yeah, I'm paying, buddy.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
Well, good. I'll raise the price for you then.
There you go. Yeah, I'm buying you like a portion of a coffee every 6 months.
I don't know.
You should up the price. It's too damn cheap.
I must have. Yeah, hang on a sec. Because I have headers for all the different sections.
All right.
And I've got them in a document file, and it's called, oh, come on. Oh my God, look at all these.
It's one of my favorite
microfic.
things.
So if you search on microfic, F-I-C, under search, a couple of them will come up. There's one about a guy talking to an alien, and another one about 2 guys on Mars. And I've always loved Asimov. Did it a little. Larry Niven has done it a few times.
Yeah,
you have a human talking to an alien, and the alien doesn't quite understand humans. Right. And so you can take a little bit of human nature and explain it to an alien in a way that it winds up explaining it to us, in your story. So the reader.
I love The Arrival.
Oh yeah.
That's why I love The Arrival, the movie The Arrival.
Yeah.
They have that same thing of like, how do you communicate with these things? What's the, I remember reading, I can't remember who did it. I'd be curious if anyone knows, that tell me. But there was a book I read as a teenager that was fascinating about this young woman who lived on this planet, and they talk about how she lived and how she survived and all this stuff. And then finally, another human shows up, at which point in the book you discover she's not human. And it was just this really fantastic kind of like, I remember going like, oh, that's so cool.
I wonder what that is. I don't know.
Like,
I'm
not
not familiar.
repulsed by her, but he was like, you know, he was as shocked, obviously, as the reader was. I thought that was great. The other one that I loved, I don't know how it holds up now, was Steel Beach. Do you ever read that?
Which one?
Steel Beach.
Never even heard of it. Who wrote it? Do you know?
I don't remember now.
Anybody in the comments, if you've heard of it,
if someone wouldn't mind looking it up, that'd be amazing. But it was Kevin Kell, Prisoners of Gravity. Yes, that was amazing too.
Prisoners of Gravity.
Prisoners of Gravity was like this, like it was like a $10 an episode show that would talk about science fiction and comic books and all sorts of. They covered just about everything, didn't they? Prisoners of Gravity.
I remember that vaguely.
It was. So the Steel Beach one, though, was interesting because the idea was there was an AI that was looking after us, and we had advanced to such a level that we had, bases on the moon, and we had all this stuff. And at the end of almost every chapter, the leading character would try to kill themselves, or would it seemed like they had succeeded in killing themselves, and then it would sort of come back again, and you'd be like, what just happened? And it was this computer trying to deal with mankind's like general malaise and depression. Like everything had been taken care of to the extent that we were sort of unconsciously just trying to kill ourselves all the time. Yikes. And the idea that we couldn't fix the AI because we didn't understand, we no longer spoke its language. There was no one still alive who could talk in binary. Have you
read I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream by Harlan Ellison?
No, I haven't read that one.
Oh, that's a feel-good story.
Is it?
No. In that it's the exact opposite of that. It's the most depressing, horrific.
Oh, yeah, it's sci-fi. I love reading that, but I like watching happier stuff.
Yeah, it's super dark. I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. It's in which collection is that in? It might be in its self-titled collection. It might be in
John Varley. Thank you, Jay's Photos.
Varley. Okay.
Yeah, Varley, Steel Beach. I have no idea how it holds up. Oh, so the other one thing about Steel Beach that shocked me was at one point he's a man and he goes in and decides to have a change. It comes out as a woman, and the rest of the movie is him as a woman. And it was done without any there was no kind of like fanfare, nothing. It was just decided to be a woman for a bit, and that was it. It was just, yeah. And again, at the time, I remember thinking like, that is so weird. How does that work? And
yeah,
it was fascinating.
Things have changed a lot now. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I think it'd be kind of fun to read it again now, because I feel like I'd be curious to know, with our perspective on mental health now and sexual politics and gender politics and all that kind of stuff. It'd just be really interesting to sort of see how that works out. I'm sure they'll make a TV series out of it soon. So
yeah, and it's been done. Shoot. There's a Heinlein short story called All You Zombies.
Oh, yeah.
And it was made into a movie.
Which movie?
But it was given a different title.
Yeah, they do that.
And I'm watching this was it on Netflix or YouTube or someplace? And I'm watching it and I'm thinking, well, this is just All You Zombies. And then I realized there were a couple of Easter eggs in the movie where they, where it's like, oh, it is actually, they've made that story into this story. And it was done pretty well, I got to say. That's a classic short story.
What was the movie? Do you remember what the movie was?
No, but the beauty of this, if anybody knows, you can.
Got the interwebs and everybody's at home using it. Oh my gosh, we had a power outage this morning. Like we're in the middle of Toronto. Our street went out for like maybe 3 minutes. They were the worst 3 minutes of my life. I thought, oh my God, I could maybe handle the corona apocalypse. I cannot handle the corona apocalypse without the internet. I forget it. I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah. We have solar panels and batteries.
Yeah.
And so like on a day like today, it's pretty gloomy out there, but it works.
We had diesel. When I lived in Washington State, we had a diesel generator that would kick in whenever there was a problem.
Yeah.
That thing was great. It ran on biodiesel.
Oh, wow. So you had to sacrifice somebody, throw them in the
French fries. It's just sacrifice French fries. And basically that was it.
Kevin Kell says Predestination, and I just looked it up, and yeah, that's it. It's called Predestination. Look it up.
Who was in it?
I don't remember recognizing anybody who was in it. I mean, you can look that up, but it's I just looked up All You Zombies movie, and it's I don't know. I watched it, I don't know, a couple of years ago, so I don't remember where I found it.
Now's the time to catch up on all those great old movies.
I know. My wife wanted to see a movie last night. It was only on HBO, so we got a free thing for HBO, and it's like, so now every night you got to watch a movie.
It was the Ethan Hawke movie. I did see that. That was an odd film. Really
Ethan Hawke? Oh, in Predestination?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Well, that's what Laura Ipsum. I love that Laura Ipsum.
Yeah, isn't that a great name?
I'll tell you one of the other ones that really resonated with me. This is a book rather than a film. Was Neuromancer. William Gibson Neuromancer was one of those ones that that just blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind.
Yeah, I never got into the cyberpunk stuff, but I should be reading some of those just to complete the.
I think I was quite shallow, so I think it was I think it was just about it was almost the aesthetic of it that really appealed to me. Like, I love the idea. I mean, I loved all the concepts about cyberspace and all, but to me it was it was cigarettes and stickers on the laptops, and this tech it looked better bashed up. I mean, I remember like Momoa on set one day, and I came out and he had like a perfectly good guitar, and he was sanding and scratching it up, and I was like, what the hell are you doing? And he's like, yeah, it looks too new. And I was like, yeah, but you can't just make something old. But of course you can. I mean, do whatever you want. But just thought that was interesting. That
Well, you and I are roughly the same age, and back when I was in high school and stuff, when something was new, that's when it was so cool. And as it got old, well, I should say that old books were cool.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
would treat them with respect and sort of even awe in some cases. You would never fold down the page of a book or
they teach you to do that. Baz is at school. He was taught to write in his book.
Yeah.
To highlight in his book and fold pages. And I was like, I can't. Surely there's an app for that. But this just seems wrong.
And I totally get that. I think I don't know what it was. Maybe it could be the fact that when you switch to a computer and you're writing things, and you can, I will sometimes save a document I'm writing. It's like, well, I'm saving to my local drive, but I don't trust that. And I certainly don't trust the cloud. And I've been talking about this for years. It's not secure. The computers go down. People can steal it, whatever. So what do? I mail it to myself. And so I've got, I might put it on a flash drive. I might have it on my computer, and it's sitting in Gmail, which kind of is the cloud, but so.
Well, that's how we used to copyright our scripts. We used to print out our scripts and send them to ourselves, but then not open them.
Yeah, sure. And so the fact that you can make an infinite number of copies of something now, to me, and maybe somebody would have the exact opposite. I can see that when you have something that is unique and you can't replicate it like a book necessarily, like your copy of a book, it becomes more precious. But in the way I see it is that books are not disposable, but they're dispensable. So if I get books, I don't feel like the need to keep them anymore. And my bookshelf is full, except for this shelf, which I've just got a few knickknacks.
Right.
Basically just for camera. That's just because I've got, like I said, in that corner, opposite corner is just Doctor Who and globes and meteorites and stuff from.
Oh yeah, I saw that thing about meteorites where you met a guy at a meteorite convention or something, and the guy, he handed you like dust from a. What was that? That was.
Yeah, this is dust. It's a little too close. There we go. The dark gray stuff in there is the dust from a lunar meteorite. From a meteorite, an asteroid hit the moon, knocked stuff off into space. That fell to Earth, and you can pick those up and identify them as being lunar. We can do that now because we have rocks from the moon that people went and got and brought back. And when you cut these meteorites, it generates a lot of dust. Jeff Notkin, who is a lovely, oh my God, would you two guys love each other? Oh, have I got to get you two to meet? But he's fantastic, and he sells meteorites, and he knows all about them. And he gave me this which is a really lovely gift.
The dust from the cutting up of these, the slicing of these.
Yeah. And I've got meteorites lying around. I've collected them over the years. And it's like I said, at some point, I'll probably have to do some sort of, here's all my junk.
Yeah, well, at some point I should do that too. The only books I have basically now are the only books that I need to read in book format are graphic novels. I just doesn't have the same magic to it as reading it on Kindle. But I will probably have to switch to that soon too, because what are you going to do with them all? Like I feel, I have like basically every Walking Dead there is at this point. And I can't watch the series because of it. I love the comic book so much. I couldn't, find that very difficult. Like, Cowboy Bebop. I just saw that Jim Shepard was talking about Cowboy Bebop. I'm trying to get Baz to watch that because I vaguely remember it from before, but I never sat down and watched the whole thing, which I'd love.
Right. And it's on my list too of a million things I've got to.
Where's it? I don't even know where to get it from. I'm assuming you have to buy it because I don't think it's on Crunchyroll or anything. I mean,
Netflix and Amazon both have an amazing store of stuff like that, but I never got into anime, so I don't really know that much about it.
The kid,
so I don't know what's good or not.
It was Akira.
Says, you need to watch Cowboy. Okay, fine.
Akira was the only anime that I really knew about growing up.
Yeah.
That was amazing. But Baz's age group is all anime all the time now, and it's pretty cool. I mean, there's some stuff gets a bit dodgy. I mean, what do I call it? Is anime dungeon porn show. There's like it's not really porn, but it bothers him when I say it. But they keep sort of doing close-ups of women's breasts and things, and then sort of pan out to reveal the action that's happening and stuff. So it's this weird I guess it's very sort of traditionally Japanese male.
Oh, Hollywood still does that. I watched.
What are we talking about? Yeah, exactly.
A classic shot of a woman in high heels, right, and a skirt, and they focus on her shoes, and then
I wonder if it'll change.
Yeah, it's like in the 80s, I was like, yay, and now I'm like, oh no.
Sorry. Well, we did a Tech Bandits the other day, so I had like 8 kids, and we were all talking about there was some kind of messed up confusion about something or another, or so. There was like some video that had some sort of questionable stuff in it, and we were talking about it, and I said, look, I'm just going to say, as a white Anglo-Saxon male, I'm just going to apologize for everything right now. Like I basically screwed everything up, and I apologize.
Yeah, so. I get that. Well, you know what? It's been an hour. I was going to take questions.
I can hang for a bit. So if that's
okay.
I mean, like I think I should probably go and rescue my wife from my son. Around 4:30 maybe, but
okay. So let's go another 15 or so minutes. Let's if anybody has questions, let me go back to my.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I find it very hard to talk and do the chat. I do that on Twitch. I try to keep both going, but when we're talking, it's
I've watched
entertaining.
Like when I popped into your Twitch channel and I see you doing stuff, and it's like, especially when you're doing like a live viewing of Stargate or something, it's tough.
Oh, man, I am not a multitasker. Never have been.
And I used to do live chats back when it was, not. When was I doing QNBA? Maybe 10 years ago, and it was very primitive. And I don't even remember. It was before Google Hangouts. I might have been doing it on YouTube. I don't even remember. Gosh. I have to go back and look, but it got so bad, people asking questions, that a friend of mine came in, and she was in the chat room too, and she'd say, "I take care of it. I'll go through and look and see what
moderator for that stuff."
Yeah. And so that helped a lot.
Moderator makes big. Look, we're really lucky because we've got like Jack Jastra and Cal will jump in. So when someone gets out of, like, every so often you get those weird, I don't know what they're trying to do, whether they're trying to sell stuff or they're just trying to offend people. Or
you need moderators.
And Cal and Jack will just jump on them and destroy them like fire ants. They're amazing. They're
like hitting him 3 times with a Zatnikling gun.
That's it. The third that every time. Yeah.
Well, here, Lorem Ipsum is asking, which Doctor Who did you grow up with?
I was Pertwee to Baker. Those were my 2 doctors. So I first started watching Pertwee in England, John Pertwee. So from behind the sofa while my parents watched that. My mother was fantastic she loved scary science fiction stuff like Quatermass and the Pit.
Oh, Quatermass and the Pit, one of my favorites. 5 billion Years to Earth here in this country.
I gotta see that again. I remember I read that book. The book Quatermass was another one that was just.
Oh, I didn't know it was a book.
Oh, maybe it was a novelization of the thing.
Maybe it was a radio show and then a TV show, and then they made that movie. And
so good.
It's called 5 Million Years to Earth here in America. It's a Hammer House film.
Is it Hammer House? Yeah, of course, that makes sense.
It was available on YouTube for a while. Beautiful print.
Really?
High res for free.
So pirated.
And I tell people, as a matter of fact, Jeffrey Notkin, my meteorite friend, he asked me one day, what's your favorite movie? I didn't even hesitate. And I said, and I knew he was English, so I said Quatermass in the Pit, the English title. And he lit up. People our age. I mean, when that movie was on, I dropped everything and watched it.
Oh, amazing.
It doesn't hold up as, very well. It was a 60s movie. But the themes in it, and it's got everything. It's got Martians and cavemen and spaceships and the devil and telekinesis and
well, they were always trying to link the devil to some kind of an alien being. Like it was always like, what's the science behind the devil? You know what I mean? Like,
and it was one of those. It was one of the few movies that was, it had an anti-hero, and it ends. I mean, they win, but it's a Pyrrhic victory. Like London is just destroyed all around them, and they just roll the credits with them just kind of sitting in the rubble. Yeah, and they're just, and it was so different. And
my mom, that was my mom got, I mean, that was it. I guess my mom and my dad were watching Doctor Who like every week. So, we grew up in England. So that was, it was partly was what got me into it. But then once Baker started, that Baker was my doctor. I
love Tom Baker.
He's beautifully odd, grumpy. He was everything that he was like, I wanted to be, before I knew you could be an actor, I wanted to be a Time Lord, you know what I mean? And then when I found out that I could just pretend to be a Time Lord, I was like, well, that's a lot easier than having to know the answers to everything in the universe. So, but yeah, he was spectacular, I thought. And then I sort of dropped it, it sort of faded from there. I mean, I think girls and music got in the way, and then I've come back to it again now. So
yeah, and and I've noticed this, and I really wonder if it's my memory or what, but when I was in high school and I would go to science fiction conventions and stuff, there were no girls or women there.
No.
Very few. Very few.
Stores.
I wonder if that's just my memory, because when I go to Comic-Con now, it's like, it's easily 50-50.
It was, I remember the thing I noticed the most there was comic book stores. There were never women in comic book stores. And now, frankly, there's just this. I mean, there's just I can't get over the population there now. It's so nice to see like younger people in this stuff too, because I just assumed they'd all be online by now. So it's nice that they still. I think because you raised a really interesting point where you said like there's something about in an age where we can replicate everything digitally. The value of those truly unique items have become, I think, has increased sort of exponentially to because there's a rarity to it now that you can't get out of other things, if that makes sense.
It does, actually. Painter Girl says, I was told girls don't like sci-fi.
Yeah,
that is so wrong.
No, it's funny, isn't it? Like it wasn't seen as it wasn't the thing. I mean, so with your other questions, what do we got? Any other Baker rules? There you go.
Yeah, I was looking. Immunerum Creations asks, of the current sci-fi media, any shows, movies, books, etc. you recommend?
Oh wow. What are we liking? I mean, I've really been enjoying the anime. There's some really interesting anime stuff out there that plays with stuff like. Baz just got me Stone, Dr. Stone, which is kind of interesting, where everyone's turned into stone, and then thousands of years later, they sort of, some of them, if they hadn't been broken up by whatever, they can sort of come out of these sort of stone cocoons and try to recreate the world. I just watched Girl with All the Gifts the other day, which is fantastic. Girl with All the Gifts.
Oh yeah, my wife read that book. And then saw it on Netflix or whatever and said, we need to watch this. And that was an interesting movie.
Yeah, I thought that was fascinating. again, mean, I think there's some really neat stuff out there. I really like the graphic novel world right now. There's a lot of really cool stuff. I love. That's right. A lot of these are actually kind of dated, I'm sure, to people who are actually into this stuff. But Death Note was another one I loved. Tokyo Ghoul is kind of interesting. This weird sort of alien symbiote thing happening there, where these symbiotes are taking over the people on the planet, and this kid, it sort of misses the kid and just hits his hand, so he's living with this deadly symbiote, but that wants to kill him. But if it kills him, it dies too. So they have to sort of work together, and they end up fighting evil symbiotes. It was really, some really neat stuff in that.
Evil symbiotes. That seems to be a theme with you.
I know. I got this. Yeah, it's a symbiote thing. What else? What else is really good? If anyone hasn't seen Misfits, they should watch that. That's spectacular.
I started watching that. It was on. I don't remember how I was watching it. It was on some channel or whatever, and it didn't have subtitles.
Oh, you got in trouble with those British accents?
That thick sort of London inner accent. And it was tough. I mean, Doctor Who, watching all those years of Doctor Who and other shows,
hello, Doctor.
They were so, I mean, the slang.
Yeah.
Have you seen Zombies versus Cockneys?
No.
It's a movie written by James Moran. He's written a couple of Doctor Who episodes. He wrote Fires of Pompeii, and he's a very funny guy. He's on Twitter. And Cockneys versus Zombies is like the ultimate, what the hell are people saying? And they would have to explain it because there's all this Cockney slang, and it's pretty funny.
Right. Yeah, I've sort of recently got diagnosed with some hearing loss, so I've got hearing aids now.
Me too. I need hearing aids, but yeah.
Oh, get them. It's amazing. Well, and also you become a cyborg. How cool is that? I'm trying to figure out how to get my bat. I've got this like ultra high frequency bat detector, basically, and I'm trying to figure out how to somehow pipe it into my well, how cool would that be to be able to hear high frequency sounds? I just think that'd be like, that seems like, what's the point of being augmented with hearing aids if you can't hear better than other people?
I just want to hear as well.
That's it. Oh, The Expanse is beautiful as well. That's true. I read the first book. I know there's like 7 of them now, but I read the first one and just loved that. Oh, Leviathan Wakes, yeah.
Here's the first book, Leviathan Wakes. It's excellent. Yeah. It's huge, but it reads very briskly.
It's a great read. Yeah, I read that one and I meant to keep going and I haven't. Maybe I should do that now. I think part of the problem was I got given them in digital format, which is great for reading because I'll actually read them. But then of course it's very easy to forget because they're not sitting there on your desk.
Yeah. And I've got a couple of them in hardcover and the rest of them on my.
I can't do hardcover because I fall asleep and they hit me in the face. I wake up with like a black eye because I've just passed out with a giant.
Yeah, I've got the last one, Tiamat's Wrath, and that's.
Have you gone through them all now? Have you read them all?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And I don't know when the next one's coming out. And James S.A. Corey, which is the pseudonym, on Twitter has been saying, because apparently they get asked this a lot, the authors, and he's saying, it'll come out when they make it come out. It's all done, and they're just waiting for it. And it's killing me because I'm dying to know how they wrap this all up.
Can't you sort of pull some strings and get like an early release or something of that, or like?
Yeah, you don't know Ty. So Daniel Abraham and Ty Frank are the authors, and Daniel's a very maybe not laconic, but he's an easygoing kind of guy,
right? And
Ty is just angry at everything all the time.
Oh, really?
No, he's great. I mean, they're both. I love them.
He's
both.
Somewhere on the McKay spectrum, somewhere there.
Yeah, and Ty. I mean, if you follow James S.A. Corey on Twitter,
I think I do.
That's Ty, and he suffers fools not at all gladly.
Right. That's why I haven't engaged.
I've known them both for a few years. I met them. I was doing some consulting work, and I was being farmed out to a bunch of different. It's complicated, but I was with a group that mediates scientists talking to media people, and the media people are like movie, TV show producers, things like that, that are going to be based on science. And I talked to Ty and Daniel. They were involved with a different TV show before The Expanse, and that's how I met them. And they gave me that copy of Leviathan Wakes, and it sat on my shelf for a while. And I finally read it, and I was like, "Holy
Isn't it awful? Like getting around to reading people's stuff I'm so bad at it.
Yeah, but they're both great. They're both huge science fiction fans, of course, and they're both a lot of fun to hang out with, and so I'm not casting aspersions on them or anything. I'm teasing them a little bit. Every picture of Ty that you find online is him basically flipping a bird at somebody. It's
right.
awesome.
That's good. You need that.
Like every picture. I can't post any of my pictures with him.
Other books that are good are the if anyone read The Old Man War.
John Scalzi.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, we talked about that, right? Because you were into you said that the Red Shirts or whatever it was.
Yeah, Red Shirts is excellent. I'm looking for it up here.
The Old Man's War is just a fascinating concept to me. The idea of these old men being put into these young, genetically sort of or lab grown soldiers. It's fascinating. Like really, just a fascinating read. Yeah, and if you got to be following John Scalzi on Twitter and reading his stuff because he's great. I've got it someplace here, but I don't know where. He's amazing. I think he's friends with Malazzi or something. I mean, Malazzi knows a lot of people in that. Yeah, well, Scalzi was either a script or a story consultant on Stargate Universe, which is how I watched it because he mentioned it. I was like, oh, well, if John's involved. So I started watching. I'd been meaning to watch Stargate for years. Right. I never did. I just wasn't into it. I watched a couple episodes and I was like, I don't know. Yeah. And then Stargate Universe. Firefly. Yeah. Firefly was on TV and I was like, and then I never watched it. Then as soon as it was out on DVD, I watched on DVD. I was like, this is the best thing ever. The same thing happened to me with Firefly and Battlestar Galactica. Same thing. Yeah. I think I started watching Battlestar before it was over. But Firefly, I had a couple of friends trying to convince me to watch it. I was like, and then stupidly, I could have been one more. They needed one more viewer to get a second season, and so I'm sorry. It was like to me, it was a Western, which never had appealed to me in the science fiction realm. It had never really worked for me in the past. And it is a show that is better binged. It's just, I think it's for Battlestar as well. This week to week thing, it is a much better watch when you could sit there and go through like chunks of it at a time. And well, with Firefly, you could basically get through it in a weekend. I mean, that's, it's spectacular. So well, my wife is not a science fiction fan at all. But we watched Firefly and she was, I was like, well, it was on like a DVD or I don't even remember. Yeah, it was like a VHS. Yeah. And I said, that far back? Really? I don't know, but it's like all of my friends love this, so let's watch it. And like 10 minutes in, she turns to me and says, this is amazing. Yeah. and that was the gateway drug for her. And she still doesn't like science fiction. It's not what she seeks out. But we watched Battlestar and she loves The Expanse. Right. Cannot wait until I'm trying to get into that. I started and then I just found there was so much to sort of get my head around. And a friend of mine says it's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. The first episode, a lot happens. Yeah. And it's hard because like they're speaking Belter and like what's going on. Yeah. If you can watch the first episode, get all the way through. Yeah. I did, which I did. I think I watched the first season. Oh, you did? Okay. Yeah. It just keeps getting better. It's kind of okay. I'll have to reconnect with that too. Although, like that's the other problem is I find I spend most of my time watching nonfiction stuff now. Like I like live on LinkedIn Learning now because just whether I have the application or not, I just want to know how these things work. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm doing a data science thing right now that it was amazing. Like just sort of the insights into how to use data and stuff. So there's just be questions, weren't they? Yeah. We're just sitting here talking. This is kind of typical. I'm not terribly good at staying focused. I don't know if you know. Yeah, the two of us, neither of us. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Do either of you D&D? One of my first programming endeavors was programming my Commodore 64 to be the dungeon master for me because I was too embarrassed to ask my friends to play with me because I was trying to be cool. Commodore 64. Nice. Yeah. I had a little random number generator, and it would go to the various different rooms and roll for the monsters and everything. And like an idiot, I probably should have sold those discs. I could have made some money. But I used to just erase them and do a new one. But I used to write a new one when I needed to. So I've literally not played since I was 10. Oh, 11. Wow. Yeah. So and for those of you under the age of 40, Commodore 64 was
a very early computer console. Was
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't in BASIC, was it?
Yeah, BASIC. That's
What
what
BASIC? Okay.
yeah, BASIC. I programmed in BASIC. When we were doing computer science at school, I was lamenting this the other day, where we used to program on punch cards, which just killed it for me. It was just too.
Oh wow!
Way
I just missed that.
Oh well,
Yeah.
I think we didn't just miss it. I think we should have just missed it.
Oh yeah, yeah. You were
on
the very tail end.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I was using cassette tapes. I had a TI-99 4A.
Oh yeah.
A $50 computer.
Yeah.
Sinclair
with the Sinclair as well.
Yeah, and I used to program in BASIC. I used to go to Radio Shack with a friend, and we'd program their TRS-80s.
Radio Shack. I had for a long time. I may have put it in my keepsakes box. I have the Radio Shack Guide to Electronics, and it was a paper, like it looked like a notebook, and it was handwritten looking notebook, and it went through color. Yeah, because that was electronics was just like, I had to make that sonic screwdriver,
Yeah, I mean, people mock Radio Shack, and it's like, I'm going to go there because I need a capacitor or whatever. And it's like back in the day, that's where the super nerds went to get their parts. When they had a TRS-80, that was like the first
Trash 80.
The Trash 80, first reasonably priced computer that you could kind of hope maybe to own someday. And it would just sit there and nobody would come in. So my friend and I would sit there and program it. And we asked the guys, like, are we getting in the way? He's like, no, I love it that you guys are sitting here. People are coming up and asking why these two 50-year-old kids are hacking away.
I never had the nerve to do that. That's really smart. We had the Sinclair, which was like, I just remember that you couldn't touch type. You had to, because it was this damp, that flat plastic keys like the Atari.
Yeah, it had little like resistance clicker things in the keypad. A friend of mine did that when I was in college, my first year of college. And we goof around and program it to say dumb things.
Yeah, that was generally a lot of dumb things. Yeah, that's a lot of the text-based adventures as well, like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I mean, there's some great science fiction there, by the way.
Now look, everybody's chiclet keys. Yeah. Oh, I see, Kevin. Yeah. I hung out at the Radio Shack and played with the TRS-80 for hours, just like you, Phil. BC says that. TI-99. Yeah, boy, you got a lot of older folks here in the chat room.
I bring with me my elderly.
Y'all take care of yourselves. I don't want you to get the virus here.
That's right. We used to use. Well, my father was obstetrics and gynecology, but was as I see now, was like a nerd. Like he was sort of very excited about the whole infertility test tube baby stuff long before that happened. So did a lot of research for that. But he ran his entire office off this Commodore 64. So he was one of the first.
Oh my God!
He was one of the first people, certainly one of the first doctors in Toronto, who was running his system off this Commodore 64. But we had a cassette deck for all of about a week, and then my father was like, "This is ridiculous," and he went and bought the floppy, the big 7-inch floppy disk.
Yeah,
7-inch or 5. I can't remember what they were now.
There were the big ones that like professional computers.
Yeah, these are the slightly smaller ones before we got into the
5 1/4.
5 1/4. That was it. So the 5 1/4, and oh my gosh, that was what a speed demon that was. Only 20-30 minutes to upload it.
And all of this tech is gone. And somewhere in this house, I still have a 9-track reel-to-reel tape with my master's degree observations on them. I don't know. It's probably a pile of dust now. Sure. But it's just funny to think back to these computers. And, every generation, especially now, they're like, oh, you old man with your ancient technology. And it's like, yeah, and there's going to come a day when you're going to, you're going to have that chip in your brain that lets you communicate with everybody. And you're going to try to tell your kids about how you had we had these phones.
We had to carry the phone with us. And it was covered in virus.
Every generation. Oh, and everybody in the chat room is still.
I'm convinced that there is. I mean, my wife won't let me do it because she says I got enough junk already. But I wanted to start collecting old computers because they are disposable, and that's the very definition of collectibles and antiques, right? Is that a lot of these big, ugly plastic computers that you just see cast aside on the sidewalk. At some point, they're going to be worth something because they don't exist anymore.
They're in museums. I wish I still had my old Fat Mac. When that Mac all in one thing, and you could have
I
a
have one somewhere.
megabyte. It had a megabyte of RAM, may have been 512K, and then you could have a virtual hard drive.
Right, the virtual hard drive.
Put in a floppy drive and do the stuff, and it would save stuff to RAM, and it would be so much faster than writing to the floppy disk. You'd have to save your document that you had typed or something or drawn pixel by pixel, and you save it to a floppy drive, and it was like, oh. But in this case, you could save it to the RAM, and it was super fast. And on this all-in-one iMac that I have here that I bought a couple of years ago when my old one died, and it's like, I can't afford this, but I can't afford not to have something cutting edge, because in 2 years, this is going to be what everybody's going to have. So
I always say that you got to buy the best CPU you can, because it's obsolete.
And when you're running, if I'm running, I was doing live video, I'd have Photoshop open. I've got 10 tabs open. So for this one, I got 24 gig of RAM.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, and now that's, I don't know if it's standard now, but 2 years ago, I had to buy the biggest.
Like 16 and 32 seems to be the big, those are the sort of.
Okay. And so yeah, when I was working on Hubble Space Telescope data and at Goddard Space Flight Center, the NASA Research Center, as your computer would get old, the grant that you had with NASA or whatever would allow each person in your group to buy a computer every 2 years or something like that. Right. And so everybody had the fastest computer for a while.
At some point, yeah.
Every 4 months, somebody would. And I got this super beefy DEC Alpha computer, and I had a gigabyte of RAM, and I had to talk them into it. And I said, I have to have this because the software I was running, the stuff I was trying to do, was taking the wide field planetary camera data from Hubble, which was 10 megabytes each. Right. And to calibrate it, you needed 10 files. There was just these 10 data files you needed to get the data processed to where it was scientifically accurate. And that's 100 meg. And, when I'm trying to throw around a 100 meg file, it was impossible unless I had a gigabyte of RAM. And so we spent the extra money, and it was awesome. And I would
remember how expensive the memory used to be too. That was crazy.
That was expensive. And I used to still have to run those programs overnight. Right. And now I could run it on this computer, and I can see that some of the programs I run, I was doing some orbital simulations the other day, and they're running unbelievable. This would have taken a week on that computer.
What have you got running now? What's the system you've got now? You got
it's an iMac. It's just
oh man, those things are other than those ridiculous, not the limo, they're like the Rolls Royce or the Ferraris of. I almost don't want one just because it feels too elite. But the
personality aspect of it, I'm not thrilled with. But the monitor is gorgeous. The CPU is powerful. And
the one you've got, I prefer the one you've got. Are actually, that makes more sense to me. It's these new ones that are the new desktop things. I'm not sure about.
I haven't even looked in 2 years. I don't even know what's out there.
Oh, I got burned on I bought the trash can, and it drives me crazy. I think I just complained about this the other day as well. But they've got their new desktops sound stunning, but they're like before it's of use to you, it's like 20 grand or something crazy like that.
Yeah, that's not within an order of magnitude of what I can afford. And now with an economic recession coming on and everything, I now live in fear of losing, this or even the webcam, and it's like, oh God, I got to spend $120 on the
webcam. Pennies now, but so Ion's cat has said. What was your best experience from Rage of the Yeti?
Rage of the Yeti.
Not many, but one of them would have to be Yancey Butler, who I just adore.
I remember her. Yeah. I haven't seen her.
Oh, she's terrific. She was just the most supportive, lovely woman. And
I can tell from the name it was a sci-fi movie.
Oh, it was awful. It was absolute. It was another one of my feeble attempts to try to figure out this sort of this commercial directing thing, and I went to I thought I'll go to Bulgaria and we'll make a movie there, and it'll be, how bad could it be, and it was interesting, should we say. it's pretty bad.
A lot of those sci-fi movies were made in that area, and if you watch Schitt's Creek, which is a great show. There's an arc in the previous season where Moira goes to, I think it's Bulgaria, to film The Crows Have Eyes 3, the sequel.
Yeah,
And just watching that was killing me.
Oh my God. It was truly like they should make a movie out of making movies there. In fact, I pitched on a series called Sophia, which was about a Canadian going to Sophia to make a TV series, because it's just, it was like the Wild West. I couldn't believe it. The first time I was out there, I was doing Boa versus Python or something. Like, it's like there's art, location, or money, right? And usually by the end of the year, that's when they start calling up people. People are like, you're heading into Christmas or New Year's, and it's like, you need a little bit of money so that you can, get the kids presents and stuff. And so you would go and do these things. And I remember we were filming, and the director said, well, why don't we shoot on the highway? And sure enough, and then a tank would just pull up onto the highway, start redirecting traffic. And it was just, I mean, it's definitely gentrified more now, but it was just extraordinary. I mean, we were up the top of Mount Vitosha, which was pretty amazing too. But it was also, it's also known as like Mount Death or something, because so many tourists die at the top of this mountain, because it seems, friendly enough. But then as soon as a storm shows up, it was like, and of course it stormed the entire time we were there. So yeah.
I've done some filming myself for TV shows, and sometimes it's easy. You're sitting in a room. Other times it's like, well, we're on our 3rd week in the desert, and we've eaten nothing but Texas Roadhouse for 3 weeks. We've all gained 20 pounds. And at the time it's like, this is misery, because you're working long hours and not getting enough sleep. And, but it's like, and you have to say to yourself, this will be a great story.
Yeah, that's my approach to a lot of these things. Is you go like, what, it's going to be hell, but if I can survive it, I will, I'll come out stronger, type thing. Yancey and that cast were really the highlights of that. I love those folks so much. But it's almost, I imagine that it's something like being in the Army. You know what I mean? There's like a weird camaraderie that happens when you have a crew and a cast, and because you all have a very clear end in sight, if that makes sense. And there's always a lot of like the little different departments are complaining about each other, because everyone's trying to do their job as best as possible, and that doesn't always work with everyone else's. We've talked about this with the science, trying to get science into films, and you want it to be accurate. And the cinematographer would like it to be accurate, but not if it messes with his lighting.
Right. Yeah.
Be accurate as long as they don't see the boom while they're doing, so everyone's got their own agenda, really. So, although you have maybe Texas Roadhouse, I got to say.
I think we should probably wrap this up. This ran a little bit longer than I was planning, but also not really caring, because obviously the two of us could be talking about this all day. I would love to swap stories with you about hardships of being on the road and doing TVs and stuff like that. It's just, it's always fun to talk to actors about what they've gone through and with whom they've worked and all that kind of stuff. And we have a lot of mutual friends, and that would be fun. But now, hey, we're friends now, if not IRL, virtually.
Does that make sense? No, that sounds like a date service or something.
You're e-friends.
Yeah.
So why don't you, pardon me, that's why as I drank my entire glass of water.
Destroy the planet this time.
Oh, these allergies, it's got to go away eventually, man. And I was out shopping the night before. Literally, I was getting ready to go out to do some stuff. Our governor said, yeah, we're on stay at home now. Yeah. So I went out to go do things, and I was like trying to not cough. Yeah,
because right away, you're like a pariah.
Yeah, everybody's like, burn him! Ah!
Yeah, burn the witch. That's it. Yeah.
So what on my newsletter page at badastronomy.substack.com, for those of you who are there, I've got links to the stuff that David does, but just so that it comes out of your mouth, where can people find you online, and what projects do you want to promote here at the end?
Well, I mean, honestly, the sort of the thing that's I guess the most my biggest focus right now is on thetechbandits.com. That's the website that I have for the Tech Bandits. As I say, there's if you do find it interesting and you do want to support it in a way, there's a Patreon, there's a donation page and stuff. But honestly, I also just want I want people to sort of see what's going on and see if it's something that interests them. So yeah, the techbandits.com would be probably the best place to find me, or Twitter, D Hewlett, I guess. Actually, Twitter's pretty good. I'm pretty good on Twitter, actually. I tend to keep people pretty well posted on that. So
yeah. Okay. And are you on Instagram or anything like that?
I am on Instagram and stuff, although I don't even remember what I'm called on that, honestly.
Because I'm pretty sure I follow you on Instagram, but I never see anything. So
yeah, well, I post on Instagram, but usually just so that it also goes onto Facebook as well. But honestly, the best your best bet is probably the techbandits.com.
Okay.
That's where I'll make sure that everything's there. And then I'm working on Nightmare Alley right now from the acting standpoint. So that's the Guillermo del Toro movie, which unfortunately is on hold right now because of this coronavirus. That's got all sorts of check out that. Go IMDb that, because that's there's some fun people in that as well.
And what's that called again?
It's called Nightmare Alley.
Nightmare Alley. So there you go, folks. Keep your eyes open for that when that'll come out. Likely online. A lot of movies are being released online now, because what else are they going to do?
Yeah, no kidding. I'm looking forward to this whole bunch of stuff I want to catch up on now. That's going to be coming out soon.
Yeah, and I'm trying to quit writing at 7 and have dinner and then just watch a movie or something, so I don't lie in bed at night, writing in my head.
Online all the time now is that it starts bleeding into all aspects of your life, right? There's no reason to stop except exhaustion or wife or child coming in and stepping in, which I'm sure will probably happen soon. Actually, yeah.
Well, so that's it. Everybody in the chat rooms, on the newsletter, on YouTube, on Twitter, which I totally forgot to check. So if you were on Twitter, I apologize. Oh God, I've got 14 replies and I didn't.
There you go. There's a bit of a lag, but they'll get even more time with you now.
Yeah, that's it. We'll just have to do this again. So for all of you guys, thank you for coming in. And David, of course, for taking all this time out of your busy tech life.
Oh, yeah, it's a pleasure. Honestly, it's just like it's like these are the kind of geek outs I love.
Excellent, and I love hearing that. So thank you, and say hi to Baz and Jane for me, and
Kate.
And
I'll
Kate.
say hi to Kate as well. That's what you really meant. Thanks so much, Phil.
Thank you, David. Take care, everybody. Stay safe. Stay healthy.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
I don't know how now there's that awkward thing where we don't know how to end it.